Well, in this video, as I promised, we are going to make some predictions about the future of the Menendez brothers. Believe me, this as an astrologer is very delicate, because one cannot really guess anyone's life, but one can interpret the symbols in the sky. That is what we astrologers do, nothing else. So, well, we are going to look at several things in the Menendez brothers chart to see what is coming to them. Above all, are they going to be released, yes or no? Well, let's start. What I wanted to look at for forecasting, the first thing is the transits, obviously in everyone's chart. Also the secondary progressions, the arc directions, and the Atassir 60. Let's say we are going to see 8 astrological charts. So be prepared, because I'm going to try to go slow, but to be able to predict, you have to see what happens in these 4 charts in the life of each one, because if there is something that repeats, that sings, that sounds, well, that is what is warning that it has fulfillment. So, well, for me, the planet that will mark the liberation or marks the liberation, that can come at a certain moment and say, get out of jail to someone, is Uranus. Uranus is the planet that creates these kinds of effects in a person's life. So let's look at Uranus in the chart of both brothers. Well, looking at the transits currently, in the topocentric system, we see that Uranus is transiting the constellation of Taurus. Specifically, it is at 24 degrees and retrograding. Who has the moon over these degrees? Well, Lyle Menendez has the moon at 23 degrees of Taurus, that is, this Uranus is going to make a conjunction. And curiously, practically the whole month of January, Uranus is going to remain stationary there, which undertakes its direct departure on January 31st, 2025, which is probably when he will have many events in his life on this moon. What does the Uranus conjunct moon give? For me, always the moon is where one lives, and a Uranus changes you where you are going to live. And let's say that yes, there can be a release. This could be a sign. Well, we remember that Eric's moon was in opposition to Lyle's moon. Specifically, Eric's moon is at 27 degrees of Scorpio. That is, that Uranus is making an opposition to him, and that more or less around the months of March or April, he will make a partile opposition to his natal moon. That is to say, we are talking that Uranus is making an opposition to his natal moon. We are talking about Uranus touching the moons of both of them, which is talking about the possibility of being released. But let's remember that those moons were always in conjunction to a number of evil stars that are there. What a laziness. So, what is it that is going to give them freedom? Okay, so let's look at the progressions right now. Well, now let's look at Lyle's progression. Look how Uranus is making a trine to the moon with 3 degrees of orb. This is already reiterating the fact that Uranus is also expressing itself in its progressed theme. Now, let's look at Eric's progress chart. Well, in Eric's progress chart, we find Uranus directly very close to the ascendant. This is already telling us that life is going to change, and quite a lot. Remember that the progress is a very slow movement in the heat, and that this is happening is a very good indicator that it is very possible that he will be given freedom, that life will change.
Hey, are you paying attention to me? Well, the moment you've been waiting for has arrived. Subscribe, like, and if you have any opinion or question, leave it in the comment.
I want to show just one little thing that caught my attention in Eric's progress chart, and that is that he has Jupiter and Mars, almost reaching the conjunction of Neptune with the Sun and the Moon. It is there at that point right now. Do you remember that I was talking in Eric's birth chart, and I said that Eric's dream was probably a little house on the beach? Well, this Jupiter-Mars almost augurs that he is going to achieve that, because I understand that Eric must be about 54 years old today. No, he will be 54 years old now in November. This is a good omen for that house and that happy ending of his life. Well, now I am going to look at the arc directions, and in Lyle directly I see that Uranus is in opposition to the natal moon, and it is also making a trine to Mercury, and in Eric Uranus is making a conjunction to the natal sun. Well, it is also written that Uranus is operating right now on all sides in the predictive charts about the life of the two of them, and let's go now to look at the last forecast that I say if it is not already confirmed here. There is no doubt that they are going to be released. Let's go to look at the Ataseers, but to split hairs. Well, what do we see in the Ataseers? In the Ataseer 60 specifically, in Lyle right now, Uranus is trine the Ascendant, and the Moon is trine Jupiter. We're talking about it's a very good time in his life, and this is going to mean release for him. And let's look at the Ataseer 60 in Eric, and Uranus is conjunct the Ascendant, and Jupiter is conjunct Uranus. For me, they are definitely going to be released. In what period? I calculate that they will be released in all this period between when Uranus is stationary and goes direct. That is, stationary is in the month of January. On January 31st, it goes direct, and then it will probably start to detonate events. Although many times I have seen that Uranus can detonate an event in retrograde, but let's remember that this is the last passage of Uranus. Through that point, it is gone. And in June of next year, it will enter Gemini and the theme end. The movie will change. But in the life of the Menendez family, touching the natal moons will liberate this Uranus. Fortunately, and believe me, I am happy about it. I don't want to look at a lot more things in these charts that I saw. But there are only two things, because it disturbs me that they might be in a certain danger from the fans. They live in a country where they have a lot of people following them, and they have created different emotions in the public. So I think they should be careful because of the attacks or things like that. And the fact that Eric, for example, that Jupiter is touching such a fundamental point about his house, about his home. In many moments I saw aspects that I said that they are going to return the fortune. Because what did the state do with the fortune? I heard that the house was sold a short time ago for $17 million. I also believe that in Lyle, we will have news about him, about his health. Although I believe he still has some things to do. And Eric, I believe he will have a very peaceful end of life in the way he wants to live. Well, we will see the end of Eric, probably in the little house by the sea. Let's hope so. Well, remember that if you are curious about any famous or relevant character and I do an analysis of the birth chart, then leave it in the comments. In the next video we will have Shakira. I want to do an analysis of her birth chart and see the forecasts, what is coming in her career, because she is already at a time when I want to show you little things, okay? So well, if you are liking it, then give it like and subscribe.
Well, that's all for today. A big hug says goodbye to all of you, and until our next video. A big hug.